In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the FLAFFL Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cutillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is Thursday, December 29th, and this is the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast, and that's right, we are celebrating.
Woo!
Yes,
that's
we
right.
are celebrating. I'm sure you all know why we're celebrating, but Steve, why don't you tell us?
Well, I staved off relegation, and I get to stay in FLAFFL for yet another year. And
Just
so
one
my
more.
season, just one more. Nothing
Right.
guaranteed past then. I learned that more than anybody. So, celebrating, good times, been binging ever since Monday night, and sobered up for this podcast.
Good.
Nice.
We really appreciate you being sober. It will certainly make you worse.
That's probably true. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time.
Yeah, that's okay. But congratulations to Steve for staying in Falafel. We definitely, we're psyched to have you there. Everyone needs a doormat, and you are ours. So,
Hey, Steve, way to not be worst, buddy.
Thank you.
That's it.
I appreciate that. And of course, because I did win, that does mean that there had to be a loser of that game. Unfortunately, Pete Olo, we will be losing him from Falafel. He will be dropping down to Falafel Junior. And in his stead, we will be gaining Corey, who is the Falafel Junior champion, winning his game on 6 Dan Bailey extra points. So
Yeah, that's crazy. We were
stressful
talking
way.
about that game last episode
That's
when
tough.
you were not with us, and that he needed 5 points basically to win. And we figured that he'd be a shoo-in with a kicker going. And who would have thought he'd get 6 extra points in that game?
Yep.
Well, congratulations to Corey. While we're at it, Steve, do you have the rest of them? Do you want to go through the rest, or we did the rest for the most part? But
Yep.
now that everything's final,
M. Silver is being relegated from Falafel Junior, which means Money Martins is going to be sticking around. Of course, he turned into the biggest jerk as soon as he won his game, too, and knew that he was staying. He just instantly turned on me. We were sucking together all year, and then...
Whoa!
Wait a minute. What? That's
Wow.
breaking news. Can I play
Isolate
the
that clip.
Can we play the breaking news sound?
You guys take that as you may. So anyway,
I'm taking
Money Martins sticking around in Falafel Junior, and then in Falafel Embryo, we had Dead Duck, who had Ezekiel Elliott and Golden Tate on Monday night, and he ended up winning Falafel Embryo, so he will be moving up to Falafel Junior. And then Nick Tarr, unfortunately, is going to be relegated out of the Falafel leagues altogether. So, everything's final. Very exciting Monday night. It was very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
don't
good.
forget my girl Annie. We brought her up the other day, and she reached out and said thank you. But if you're bringing all the boys up, I'm going to
Yep,
bring my
that's
girl
absolutely
Annie
true.
Packers.
Yep,
She's,
Annie Packers.
Ladies champion, and she's requesting a spot in Embryo. We'll have to see if we can work that out for her.
Yeah, we've
Stay
talked
tuned.
about that, how that works, and you know the spot in Embryo will be given to someone who's in the chat and you know on the Fantasy Life app. Obviously, it's the Falafel House chat. If you guys want to, if somehow you're listening to this and you are not a part of that chat or the app, get it now and head in there because we will be giving away a spot in Embryo too. What's the rule, Steve? Basically, it's participation, right? That's all we ask.
That's right. I mean, you got to stand out. You got to, when we have our deliberations as to who's going to be in, the people that are around the most are obviously going to be sticking out most in our minds. So, yeah, participation. In the off season, you can ask anybody that's a regular in there. The off season is when a lot of the fun happens because there's not football to talk about every single day. And we fill our time with pretty much anything else. And it can get pretty wild in there, but a lot of fun stuff happens in there during the off season. So even though there's no football, you should still come in and get in on the chat because crazy things bound to happen.
Hey, speaking of Money Martins, he brought up to me the other day, are we going to have our second annual Falafel Fantasy Award show like we had last year on the Fantasy Life app?
I don't see why we would not.
Yeah, I think that we got to get that planned, right after the Week 17 shenanigans are over.
I've been preparing categories all season.
My suit is pressed already.
Oh,
it was fun.
Perhaps I missed the memo.
Last year we did have the awards. We gave out specific awards to different people for various things through their activity throughout the chat and things like that. It was great time. We had a lot of fun. People dressed up their avatars. It was a lot of fun. It was a great night in there. So looking forward to that again, Sal. I'm sure you are going to run with that once we get through preparing for the playoff challenge. What's the update there?
Yeah, so we have over 170 participants already for the Falafel Playoff Fantasy Challenge. If you'd like to enter, you could go to falafelhouse.com. It is right there. All the rules are right there on the front page and the link to click to register. And if you don't want to go to the website, then just go to my Twitter, @LitoSal. It's my pinned tweet. And all the rules are explained. And this year, the winner will be getting a spot in the Scott Fish Bowl, which you've heard us talk about ad nauseum on this program. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better and a whole lot of fun. So come join us in the fun. If you don't want fantasy to be over and you want to hang on for the playoffs, we'll be talking about it on this show. We'll be talking about it on the app, and you'll be able to come on and actually participate against people on the app. So a lot of fun. Come on out. Check it out.
Definitely. So that pretty much that's your update on all things falafel. I'm glad that nobody mentioned the actual falafel championship where I lost and got destroyed by Eagles Nation. Congratulations to him, as we mentioned earlier this week. So before we move on to the rest of the show, I just want to remind everyone that you can follow us all on Twitter at Falafel House. You can follow Steve on Twitter at SidSkeet. You can follow Sal on Twitter at LitoSal. You can follow me on Twitter at Wally Central. And as Sal mentioned, check out falafelhouse.com to get into the Falafel Fantasy Playoff Challenge, or just check out some of the articles we put out this year. Obviously, things slowing down a little bit with the season coming to a close, but we'll still have some content coming throughout the off season. So definitely check that out. What we're going to do today is kind of get through Week 17. We realize most championships have already occurred, but there are plenty of people that play 2-week championships or have their championship in Week 17. Although I agree with Sal, who will tell you if you have your championship in Week 17, you need to change your rules.
Just quit the league.
Or just quit the league. Yeah. I'm a little nicer, but
yeah. No, if you win, your first rule of order as champion should be to just debunk the league. Just get rid of it. Just take it. Erase it from existence.
Or just suggest that the schedule be changed so you have your Week 16 championship. But
smash it.
We are going to go through a lot of the games. There are going to be a lot of players that are inactive, or at least seems like they're going to be inactive or playing, partially. So we'll go through all of that. But first, the one final thing that I got to do. You guys know that there is another reason to celebrate today, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sir.
I just want to wish my daughter, who will probably never hear this, a happy first birthday. That's right, guys. Baby Falafel is 1.
That's amazing. It feels like just yesterday that Baby Falafel came into this crazy world. And just an exciting year. Although when everyone hears this, it's going to be the next day. But
very true.
And she shares the birthday with Matthew Berry.
She does, and happy birthday to Matthew Berry as well. Last year on her birthday, it was a Tuesday, actually, interestingly enough, and I had found out that I won a championship the night before. Got a new daughter that day. It was great. Great day for me.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
So, Steve, you're going to take us through some games. We got Week 17 scheduled. What do we got?
Yes, we are going to get started with the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. And right out of the gate, we get a game where both of these teams already out of the playoff picture. So you'd kind of have to question and think what that might mean for the fantasy players. It is going to be Steve Smith's last game, so that's kind of important. And probably going to get to see a lot of Kenneth Dixon, you would think maybe, Kev. Do you think this might be a week that they... put Terrence West away and just see what they have with Kenneth Dixon.
I would hope so. I mean, we've been calling for it all season. It seems like he's been stepping up more in the last couple of weeks, but they do keep rolling Terrence West out there for some unknown reason. He's terrible. His yards per carry have been awful lately.
Whoa.
Really? Do you want to challenge that?
I want to challenge that he's getting more touches than Dixon. No, that's not true, actually. He got less than Dixon last game. But I still like Terrence West. He
why?
poo-poo on you. Just because I like to bother you.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly.
That's nice. You're a good friend.
Sounds like you guys sound like good friends.
Yeah. Look, Terrence West is not a good running back in my opinion anymore. Last week against Pittsburgh, right? Yeah, last week against Pittsburgh on Christmas Day, 10 carries, 27 yards. Obviously a 2.7 yards per carry average. He had 3 catches for 3 yards. That's just not worth putting out there. Dixon's the guy. He's the future. And I'm, for one, am hoping that we do see him carry a full load in this game because I want to see what he can do if he's given, 18 to 20 carries. That's going to be a big factor for a lot of people deciding on keepers and figuring out whether or not this is a guy that's worth any kind of keeper penalty or even just a keeper as well. Because if he's going to be a lead back on a team that runs the ball a lot next year, you're going to, he could have solid value.
Yep, I absolutely agree with that. Might finally get to see what everyone has been hoping to see all season. Sal, what do you think of the Bengals side of the ball where you're going to have no A.J. Green, no Tyler Eifert, no Jeremy Hill most likely, or if he does play, he's probably not going to last very long. So, I mean, if you're in a championship week, are you rolling out any Bengals this week?
It's kind of a tough week. I mean, the most interesting guy to probably roll out is Rex Burkhead. I mean, but Baltimore has a pretty good run defense, so I don't even know if that's something.
I actually heard they're bringing in the Buckeyes to play this game.
Nice. That would be exciting.
Just going to bring the whole college team over to let them play.
That would be pretty exciting. So, yeah, it's a really tough matchup, and with nothing to play for, I think the Ravens will want to win this game. They just seems to me to be like the type of organization, with it being Steve Smith's last game, to play out the string. And if I own Steve Smith, he's in my lineup, no questions about it. Absolutely. I have a feeling he's going to absolutely just light up the field this weekend.
He could get 20 targets easily.
Yep, I was just going to say that. Crazy. Well, anything else from this game before we move right along?
It's interesting to me that, not that this is really fantasy relevant, but it is a football show as well. And interesting to me that A.J. Green was reported today he's not even attending the meetings. Apparently he's been sulking around a bit. I got to wonder if this will have any kind of hangover effect for next year for him as far as his attitude towards the team. He seems to be legitimately upset that they're not letting him play. And, for me, this is his first season without 1,000 yards. If I were him, I'd want to play too.
Sal, do you think he's going to be sad next year?
I think he'll get over it because he makes a lot of money and he's a professional. And I think that, they'll take the offseason to move on from it. So, yeah, I think that Cincinnati's making the right choice because you don't want to, march a guy out there and possibly it was a torn hamstring. It's just healing. Those things can easily tear again. It's not his decision to make because they're paying him a lot of money. So get over it, AJ.
Nah, I disagree. If I want to play, if the doctors have cleared me and I say I want to play in the game, I should be able to play in the game.
Nope, no, you can't.
Well, well, they're certainly not letting me play in this game, so that's fine. Move along.
Yeah, moving
with your
along.
knees, they'd never let you out there with your knees.
That's very true. Yeah. Also, the speed thing might be an issue. I think I ran like a 10-second 40. So
you do a 5-inch button hook.
Yeah, that's it. I can basically turn around. Is all I can do.
Eventually.
Yeah, but slowly. Otherwise, I lose a hip.
Ouch. Not yet. It's too soon,
right.
Kevin.
That's right.
All right. The Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. The Houston Texans, they are locked into the number 4 seed in the AFC, so they don't have anything to gain by running any of their starters out there. The Titans, they aren't playing for anything anymore. They lost Marcus Mariota to the broken fibula last week. So talk about a couple running backs. Sal, we'll start with you. Do you think that Mariota's injury is going to hurt DeMarco Murray's value and obviously the value of all the wide receivers around him, since defenses aren't really going to have to worry about any type of passing threat?
Yeah, I don't think that I'm not playing anybody with the exception of maybe Delaney Walker when it comes to anybody that catches the ball on the Tennessee side. We know that Matt Castle has a propensity to throw to the tight end if you look throughout his history, so that might be a guy he'll lean on. DeMarco Murray managed to get things done. They've blocked pretty well this year, but I think you're going to see a little bit more Derrick Henry in this game. It's the last game of the season. They legitimately have nothing to play for, so why not put the new toy out there and see what he gets if you give him a ton of carries? So it'll be interesting to watch.
They're people, Sal. Just saying.
Not toys?
No.
Oh, my bad.
So, Kev, this championship week, are you going to be rolling? Would you be rolling Alfred Blue out there again?
I mean, you got to see what's going on with Miller. It doesn't look like he's going to play, but I don't see why not. Because if you rolled him out last week, you probably have to roll him out again this week because I'm sure you replaced him, Lamar Miller, with him. Tennessee comes into this game fourth best against the running backs for the season. So, I think you're going to have tough sledding with a guy like him. They're fourth best the last 5 weeks as well. So all season it's been pretty steady for them. I don't think Alfred Blue is going to have a game like he had last week. He had 80 yards and a touchdown roughly. I think I would temper expectations if you are rolling him out there, but you probably have to if you've been playing him. If you played him last week too. I would look elsewhere if you can. But my guess is the reason you played him last week, you don't have any other options. And there's really not a lot out there. I mean, Jaquiz Rodgers is a name that maybe hasn't been, picked up if you were in your championship or in the second week of a championship game. Looks like he's going to get pretty much every carry in Tampa Bay because, as we'll talk about when we get to that game, there's issues with Doug Martin and Charles Sims. So,
row.
Yeah. So, I think that's a guy that maybe you could look at, but other than that, you're probably stuck with him.
This is why Week 17 championships stink.
That is correct.
So if Houston's going to be benching most of their starters, does that mean Brock Osweiler is going to get back in the game for a little bit in this one?
No, I really don't.
I doubt it. I doubt it with them going into the playoffs because they are going into the playoffs. And,
yeah.
Tom Savage does need as many touches as he can, as many snaps as he can get. So no, I have a feeling that Savage plays the game out.
Yeah, they really need to get him extra experience so that they can lose in the first round.
That's right. That's right. They don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm taking the Texans round 1.
Listen, so there was a guy who one of the ESPN guys, I think it was Hasselbeck, was on a local radio station here in Boston.
There's 2 of them, just so you know.
Right. Yes. I'm sorry. It was Matt, I believe. And I always, I think I get him confused with Dilfer anyway. So, but Hasselbeck's the local guy, so I'm gonna say it was Hasselbeck. Either way, he was talking about. They were asking him about different coaching scenarios, and Jacksonville came up as far as McDaniels and things like that. But long story short, they were talking about Blake Bortles, and he called him the worst quarterback in the league. Now, my question to you guys is, the guys on the radio immediately asked him, is he worse than Osweiler? So my question to you guys, which would you rather have?
Bortles, no question.
Really? No question,
yeah.
Huh?
Yep, I actually would too. He's got an arm and he's not afraid to use it.
He disagreed with you completely. He said 100% Bortles is the worst quarterback in the league, and then included Osweiler. Because he said at least Osweiler can throw the ball. He said Bortles has no control and cannot throw the ball at all. You have no idea where it's going to go.
I think E.J. Manuel is going to challenge them for that this weekend.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Anyway, sorry, go on.
All right, we are going to move along and talk about the Panthers and the Buccaneers, like Kev just said. Now, the Panthers are out of it, but believe it or not, the Buccaneers are still alive, and all they need to happen is to win this game and have the Packers, Washington, the Texans, Colts, Eagles, and Seahawks
have you looked
all
at the list?
Lose their games.
How the hell do the Texans affect the Buccaneers?
They have 2 AFC teams that they're leaning on for wins. It's crazy. They need
don't
7
they need
things to happen.
too?
It's not going to happen. No, I think they can take a loss. They can get a loss.
No. I'm pretty sure
look,
they need.
if the Lions and the Packers tie,
Yeah, I think they need.
then the Buccaneers get the last spot if they win.
Yeah, I think they need two other teams to tie.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What I said.
So they're gonna be holding their breath. They're gonna be holding their breath.
And
but like Kev
said,
Doug Martin, I mentioned, suspended for 4 games for PEDs. He's been popping some Adderall, it sounds like. So he is no longer with the team for now. And so yeah, what does that mean you're going to be doing for running back this week, Kev?
I think it's Jaquiz. I mean, and you know what? Jaquiz isn't a bad option there.
Hold on, I was holding my breath the whole time. Whoop.
So Jaquiz Rogers isn't really a bad option there because he's been solid when he's been given the chance this year. You can't argue with the results that he's had. Look, on the season, he's got a 4.3 yards per carry average. He's got 2 touchdowns in the season. He's been used in the passing game a little bit here. So, I mean, when he's been given the ball, he's been solid. You look at the 2 games in the middle of the season. One against Carolina, Week 5, he rushed 30 times for 100 yards. Didn't get a touchdown in that game, but that's pretty solid production. And then the following game against San Francisco, which of course we know about that defense, 26 carries, 154 yards. So the guy's been good when he's been called upon, and he's your guy. So if you lost Sims or Martin and you were somehow still playing in Week 17, he's the one you want, and you better get him.
I'm rolling out all my bucks this week. I'm playing Jameis. I'm playing Evans. I think I'll skip on Brait since he's not playing anymore this year. But yeah, and Jaquiz looks like a good start. I think that this is one of the few teams this week that you could rely on for fantasy goodness.
Yeah, I agree. In DFS, I'm playing. I have the Jameis Evans stack just about everywhere. So
have to change that in the falafel mug challenge.
Yeah, and Myers, by the way, Brandon Myers, the tight end, actually probably not a bad low cost option for tight end if you're looking for DraftKings or DFS play.
And then for the Panthers, really quick, you're probably going to get Cam and Jonathan Stewart and Greg Olsen in there, but are you going to be trusting Kelvin Benjamin if you need to after he had a pretty solid week last week?
I'd be mindful of Jonathan Stewart. He missed a couple of practices this week. There's some concern that he may not play. You want to check what he's doing on Friday, but so other than that, but you know, it could be a Cameron Artis-Payne game if for some reason Stewart is going to be inactive. So keep an eye on that.
Alrighty, then we are going to move to the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this game for me is the epitome of why you do not play games in Week 17. With the Steelers locked into the number 3 seed, all of the Killer Bees are going to be resting this week. So if you are playing in your championship game, odds are one of these 3 guys probably helps get you there, and now they are going to be unavailable for you. So, Sal, what are you doing with this game? Huh? You like this game now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huh? I seen a guy post something today that said, I picked up D'Angelo Williams and Fitzgerald Toussaint because the guy I'm playing owns Le'Veon Bell, and he's all excited about it. Week 17 championships stink. So there's really nobody on the Steelers I feel like I can trust, right? I mean, Landry Jones is going to be out there quarterbacking with Fitzgerald Toussaint most likely getting the most touches in the backfield. I don't think that I'm really going to rely on anybody from the Steelers side, which is kind of sad because one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And if you do, unfortunately, have the 2-week playoff or Week 17 championship, you got nobody that you can use.
Kev, anyone from Cleveland that you'd want to roll the dice on? Isaiah Crowell after his week last week? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, Crowell's week last week was great, but hardly anyone used him, and you can't really depend on that kind of touchdown production going forward. Not to mention Pittsburgh's been better against the run this year than they had been in the past. I think they come in, over the last 5 weeks, 22nd most fantasy points. So definitely bottom third of the league, giving up fantasy points to running backs. So no, I'm not really trusting Isaiah Crowell. I'm not really trusting anyone on this team. Maybe Barnage has an okay day if you're looking for a streaming tight end option, or if you are playing DFS and you want to throw a dart at him. But I don't even know who's playing quarterback, to be honest with you. You know, Cody Kessler, I assume, will be the guy back there.
No, Ryan Griffin III is
RG3 is going to play. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. No, I'm not playing anyone.
I like Crowell this week.
Do you?
And I got a feeling Cleveland's going to screw the whole season up by winning 2 games and giving the number 1 overall draft pick to the San Francisco 49ers.
I bet people saw this.
Would be very Cleveland.
So Cleveland. I bet people saw this matchup on their playoff schedule and were just like, yes, the Steelers against the Browns. This is amazing. And now you just don't get to use anybody. So very, very hurtful. All right, we're going to move along. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys are locked into the number 1 seed in the NFC. So much like the Steelers, most of the Cowboys starters are probably going to be playing a limited amount of series at best. So I guess maybe Terrence Williams is a pretty good start this week.
Mark Sanchez. Start Mark Sanchez. The dirty Sanchez.
Oh, come on.
Wow. All right.
I thought we agreed to forever call him Butt Fumble.
Butt Fumble. Sanchez.
So what do you do with your Cowboys? Is Darren McFadden the guy that you'd want to plug into your lineup maybe this week?
Here's the problem with this. Sorry if I just jump in here. You didn't really throw it to either one of us. But here's the problem. I think their starters are going to play. And so I don't even know that McFadden's a great play because I think Elliott will get some run. I think he'll get some carries in the beginning, and then they'll shift over to give it to McFadden. So, I mean, yeah, a half a game of McFadden could be good. A half a game of Elliott's probably still worth starting. But so you're going to start them both? I don't know. Which one gets touchdowns? Who knows? To me, this is another reason why you don't have Week 17 championships, because in my mind they're going to play this game in 2 halves is what I see them doing. So you're going to get half a game from each of them, and I think that makes both of them half as valuable for the week. So
yeah, so are they both relevant or are they both irrelevant? That's the problem.
It's all in how you look at the glass, my friend. Is it empty or full?
Right. Sal, what do you think about the Eagles for this one? Anybody tickling your fancy over there in Philadelphia?
Well, my fancy's very tickled, but has nothing to do with the Eagles.
Please stop.
I'll tell you what. Here's what I think. This is just strictly what I'm thinking. I think they got some young players on the team, and Wentz and Matthews and guys like that. And I think that they play this game out. I think that they actually come out and try to play this like it's a regular, meaningful game. And maybe you get a nice day out of Jordan Matthews. So Jordan Matthews is a guy I might look to depending on my options. And then probably Zach Ertz. I'll probably give him another shot.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else from this game, we will move right along. Nope. All right. And we go to Buffalo, where the Bills will go to New York to play the Jets. Both
the Bills are in New York.
Oh, well, yeah, they're not going to be going very far.
That's interesting, Steve. What is it with you two in geography? Sal doesn't know where San Diego is. You don't know what Buffalo's in New York? Come on.
I know San Diego's in Arizona.
But the Jets play in Jersey. I don't get it. What the hell's happening around here?
That's right. Buffalo's not even going to New York. They're going to New Jersey.
Jesus. All right. Anyway, well, both of these teams suck, so they're not in the playoffs. Both of the Ryan brothers were fired this week from the Bills. Tyrod Taylor looks to have been benched, so it seems like E.J. Manuel is going to be starting, like Sal alluded to earlier. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be starting for the Jets. So, I mean, what do you guys want to talk about this game?
Well, Bilal Powell might not even play. We know Forte's out. Now Powell might not play.
Now Powell, yeah.
Kev, did you have a point to make? I did want to say one thing, but I don't want you to forget your point.
No. Go ahead. I was just going to talk about Tyrod Taylor for a little bit, but go ahead.
So to that point, I'll talk about E.J. Manuel. I know I joked about him before. If there's one thing that E.J. Manuel can do, it's throw the ball like a country mile. The guy has a big arm. So I'm rolling Sammy Watkins out this week. Sammy Watkins, in an interview today, said, the culture here in Buffalo has to change. It's a culture issue. I think he's healthy. I think that he, in his mind, has something to prove. And I think that they play the down-the-field game this week with Manuel's arm. So look for that. I would have Watkins in my lineup.
I agree with you. I mean, I think you're going to have, LaShawn McCoy in your lineup too. My point about Tyrod Taylor was going to be, the thought was they were benching him this week because they didn't want him to get hurt because he gets a guaranteed $30.75 million if he's hurt and can't make, can't make or isn't cleared by the start of the new year, which is in March. And so they figure they bench him so he doesn't get hurt, right? So EJ Manuel comes in. He's going to start. I guess it turns out today that Tyrod Taylor has a hernia. He's going to have surgery, and he may not be ready for the start of the league year anyway. So,
wow.
So that's
crazy.
They could be stuck with Tyrod Taylor next year, even though it sounds like they don't really want to be. They fired the head coach. You know he's going to most likely want to bring in his own quarterback, and they're guaranteeing Taylor $30.75 million. So just an interesting little roster construction thing. For those of you, though, in Dynasty with Tyrod Taylor, if that is the case, that's actually good for you, I think, because in my mind, now I'm looking at Tyrod Taylor and thinking, all right, well, at least he has a job next year.
Maybe not a starting one, though.
Well, I mean, who else? I mean, they're going to draft someone, but there's no good starting quarterbacks coming out in this draft. Based on every draft expert that you read and you start looking at the college landscape and who's coming out, there's no one that's going to be, there's a couple of prospects that'll be developmental guys, but there's no one that's coming in and starting day one. So for me, if you have Tyrod Taylor and you're paying him $30.75 million over the next few years, you're not going out and signing someone, which means you're drafting someone, which also means that Tyrod Taylor is your starter.
Johnny Manziel, veteran.
Tony Romo.
Tony Romo. Yeah, not happening. Because you can't pay them both.
Yep.
Somebody asked me this question, and he's a Cowboy fan. He's like, yeah, but think about these other places that Romo could go. He says the Jets, the Jaguars. I'm like, Tony Romo's not going to any of these places where the teams suck. He's going to have a say in where he goes.
He's not going to have a say.
He's going to end up he's going to have a say.
No, he's not.
You don't think Jerry Jones would do the right thing by this guy who's been a good trooper for him all these years and has done the right thing?
Would you? Why would you do that? It's the NFL. It's not about friends and doing the right thing. It's about getting the most you can for the guy.
Kevin's cutthroat.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure that you being a Patriot fan has made you a kind of scummy. So
I actually think your name is Kevin Cutthroat. I think Cotillo is short.
It might be. Maybe back in the day when the Litos were Latos, we were cutthroats.
Pirates
you
ruled
stayed
the
off
land.
my Latos.
Sorry, I digress. Go on.
Yeah, we are going to move on altogether here. I'm cutting you guys off. We're moving on to the Bears and the Vikings. Both of these teams with nothing to play for, but there still could be some fantasy goodness here. Sal, I know Cam Meredith has been a guy that you've talked about a lot. He's had a couple 100-yard games recently. So is he somebody that you'd be looking to play this week going against this Minnesota defense that has just looked like garbage the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, why not, right? Because the Bears have, again, nothing to play for.
Sounds like Week 17, that's the slogan. Why not?
Week 17, why the hell not? Who else would you use? I think that Meredith is a guy you might want to march out there. I mean, Barkley was pretty terrible last week, but he still managed to have a good game amongst the 5 interceptions, speaking of Meredith. So I think I roll him out there, and maybe even a guy like Matt Asiata you might want to get into your lineup this week, seeing as the Bears have not been good at stopping a run lately, and looks like Peterson's not playing, right? So I think Asiata's a guy you might lean on. A lot of mites.
Yeah, a lot of mites. I'm curious to see if Thielen can follow up his, performance from last week on my bench with doing that again. So that'll be interesting for me. I definitely want to keep an eye on that because I'm curious what his value will be going forward. Sal, someone asked you that question the other day, whether or not he's a keeper, and you flat out said no. I assume you were talking in most regular, sized leagues. In a 16-team league, he's a guy I might actually have to consider. Obviously, he was a free agent pickup, so he's a 16th round penalty, which isn't terrible. But I'm curious to see what he does in this game and sort of what happens going forward with him.
You say 16th,
I mean, I just think, go ahead, Steve-O.
I was going to say, 16th keeper penalty is not terrible. What could be better?
Oh, right. Right. I hear you. So it's yes.
I just think with Treadwell, and he's got the writings on a wall of a one-year wonder type of player for me personally.
Sure.
I don't think that he factors in much next year, but I understand what you're saying. It's you're not losing any value there with a 16th round pick. So
no, I mean, and obviously you want to see what he does in training camp, is kind of see what the roster looks like, see how they're using Treadwell and those kind of guys. But Diggs sort of faded to me a little bit in this season, and so it opens the door a little for him to either be a second option or perhaps maybe take the Julian Edelman type role on an offense that actually throws a lot of just short passes. So he's just a guy that's intriguing to me if you're talking about dynasty and or keeper league. So, but I hear you. In a regular 12 team, you're not. There's no way you're keeping him. But.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Thielen coming down the stretch there, so I definitely would be keeping an eye on him in the deeper leagues for sure moving into next year. My 16th round keeper this year is going to be Tyreek Hill, so I'm going to be okay for right now. I'm so happy I get to talk about keepers for next year. It's so nice.
Celebrate. Wahoo!
Oh, man.
I tell you how my cousin used to play that on the phonograph when I was a kid. He had one album. I'd come over his house. He had this giant phonograph system that played two different records at a time, and it was always freaking Kool and the Gang, for God's sakes.
Now, how long did you have to wind that, and how much time did that give you?
No, man, it was electric, man. It was the 70s.
Oh, got it.
It was the late 70s, early 80s, brother. We had electric.
Awesome.
It was pretty new. We still went outside to pee.
Was it next to the lava lamp?
Yeah, that was on the shag carpet, baby.
Right, with the bead doors.
I walked through the beaded doors. So it was a good day. The Rudmans, who lived 2 doors down from me, they had those beaded doors. Rachel and Melissa, if you're out there, girls, how you doing?
Shout out to the Rudmans.
It's been about 35 years.
Can we just...
Awesome, yes. Let's go.
Let's keep it moving.
All right.
Week 17!
I apologize.
The Jaguars and the Colts. I guess we don't really have to talk about this one too much. I actually think this game's probably going to be a shootout, so it doesn't seem like anyone's going to be resting in this game So if they're healthy, roll them out there. Do you guys think or Kev, do you think Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson are going to be able to redo what they did this last week, finally rekindling their connection?
Maybe. No, I really don't think it's going to be that good of a game. I think Bortles. I agree with Hasselbeck. I think Bortles is terrible, and I think that they did a good job, like the coach said, of moving Allen Robinson around and trying to use his talent a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's still whether or not Bortles can actually hit him. Indianapolis still a terrible defense in my mind. I think they don't really stop people very well, so it should be a shootout, like you said. But I don't see 150 yards and a touchdown again.
These two teams played last December. The Jacksonville Jaguars scored 51 points in that game. That's crazy.
Ooh.
That's crazy. So, I do think that it'll be a shootout. I do think that both teams will play this game out. I think on the Jacksonville side, you got a lot of guys that need to put something on tape to keep jobs next year. So, I think that I might roll Allen Robinson out there this week. I think he's a guy. I don't know that I'm relying on Bortles, but A-Rob's a guy to get out there. Marquise Lee too.
Don't sleep on the Jacksonville defense. I'm just throwing it out there. They're better than you think.
Today, 17 weeks of this. I'm so glad it's over.
All right, we're not spending much time on that one. We are going to move along and talk about the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. A couple of playoff teams here with not a ton to play for, I guess.
The Patriots. True. Miami wants that win.
Yeah, I don't think the Dolphins are actually in yet, are they?
No, they are in, but their seeding makes a huge difference. Wouldn't you rather play Houston than Pittsburgh? I mean, that's
right.
To me, that's a huge deal.
Yes,
you know what,
that is
Kevin?
a big deal.
I forgot that Denver crapped the bed.
That's right. Yes.
So go ahead, carry on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I see what you did. I get it. I get it. Anyway, luckily I gave up on them long before anyone else did, so it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt so much this year. But yes, Kev, go ahead. Talk about the Patriots. And you're right. There is actually quite a bit riding on this game for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, for the Patriots, it's all about getting that number one seed and the home field advantage throughout. So that's a game for them. Not to mention the fact that we all know what happened last year. Against Miami, they took the game. They didn't take the game seriously. They lost. They lost home field advantage. Ultimately, ended up losing to the Broncos in Denver. A lot of people, around here at least think that that's the only reason they didn't get to the Super Bowl is because it wasn't a home game. So I think they will roll out their starters, but I do think that if there's any chance in either direction that this game is getting out of hand, you could see Garoppolo, you could see some of the other starters, other than Brady, come out. So there's a chance that New England does rest guys because they do have a first-round bye either way. So there's that. But on the Miami side of the ball, like I said, I think they're in it to win it with this game because I would much rather travel to Houston than Pittsburgh if I were them, and I think that's what they're going to be rolling out there. Not to mention, they're a team built for momentum, right? I don't think that they're a team that's good enough to just kind of rest guys and ease into their playoff game. I think they have to keep the momentum going that they've built. So I think they're going to play hard in this one. And in Miami in December, it's always a tough game for New England. So as far as fantasy is concerned, I think you're going to, it's still going to be a tough day because the Patriots have defensively have played very well this year and even more so lately. I think Ajayi is going to have a tough day. The Pats have been very good against the run. Over the last 5 weeks, they're the best team against fantasy running backs. So, it's going to be tough for Ajayi, but I think it's Ajayi. You're going to have to roll him out there. You've gotten to this point, but it should be tough sledding for him. As far as the other guys, I'm not really trusting Matt Moore. I'm not really trusting Landry. You can go with one of the wide receivers if you want, but I don't know why you would. So I think it's all about Ajayi here. And there are reports that they want to get Kenyon Drake more work too. So that's something interesting to note. Although I don't really take that too seriously. On the New England side of the ball, I think you can start all your guys. You're going to have to because it's Week 17. They got you there, but just be wary if this game gets out of hand in either direction. You're probably going to see them sit.
It doesn't look like Malcolm Mitchell's going to play in this game.
That is true. Yes.
So you might even want to roll Michael Floyd out there this week. Scumbag.
All about.
I don't know, Kev. So. I think I played Landry this week, and I think I might even trust Moore a little bit in this game. I know that the Patriots rather have played good defense, but in Week 17, I'm looking for guys who are actually playing for something on teams that are playing for something, and that's what those guys are. Moore has played well, in my opinion, over the 2 weeks. So
I'd Patriots second best team in the league against opposing quarterbacks for fantasy over the last 5 weeks.
Look at me, not scared over here.
Come on.
Patriots 0-5 in their last 5 games in Miami.
You're talking about Matt Moore and a defense that's played well.
I need Miami to win this game, so I'm going to twist it in the direction that I want it to be twisted in.
Okay.
Let's go, Dolphins.
All right.
I'll just use stats to make my decisions. You use that need to win thing.
I know a psychic medium who has told me different.
Awesome. All right, we're moving on to the afternoon games, and the first one is the Kansas City Chiefs at the San Diego Chargers. The Chiefs are currently the number 5 seed in the AFC, but they've got a lot to play for. If they win their game and Oakland loses their game,
which they will,
the Kansas City Chiefs jump up into the number 2 seed. They get a bye week. They get They get a home game. So you know that they're going to be giving it all they got. And the Chargers, I don't think Phillip Rivers really likes to get blown out. So they're going to be throwing the ball around, and everyone that's healthy is going to be playing. So I think you're kind of safe to start everyone from this game. Sal, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. The Chiefs are definitely playing for something. They got a chance at a first round bye and home field all the way up until they would have to meet New England if they should get that far. So I think your Chiefs players are all a go in this game. Chargers have not been good on defense. And San Diego, I'll just reiterate Kevin's point. I'm going to steal this right from him. I'm playing Antonio Gates this week, Kev. Why? Why, Kevin?
They might be going for a touchdown record, I think. Someone mentioned that.
Next year. He's coming back next year, so don't mention him. But I'd play him anyway. I'd play my Chargers in this game. The Chargers are another team. We spoke about it the other day, Kevin. They're in transition, and what goes on next year. And people will tell you that guys who work in and around the NFL will tell you that teams that are out of it, teams that are going to lose coaches, and guys that might need to go play somewhere else, they want to put something down on tape in these final weeks, and they want people to see that they did not quit, they did not give up, and they're worth taking a look at. So
Steve,
I expect the Chargers to come out.
Didn't Steve mention something about that? About putting tape on there?
I mentioned it actually earlier in this podcast.
Oh, was it you? No, I don't. I don't.
To make my own point.
Yeah, I try to block out what you say. So I thought Steve said it. That's my bad.
If you don't like winning,
like
buddy,
it.
go right ahead.
So anything else? Kind of start everybody. Good to go on Chiefs and the Chargers.
Steve, let me ask you a question because you obviously mentioned you're a Tyreek Hill owner. Not that we play in Week 17 in that league. However, I do want to ask you about his usage because he's not getting a lot of touches. In fact, I don't think he caught the ball once in his last game. Obviously, he had some rushes, 6 rushes, 90 yards. He had the long carry, and he gets a touchdown. But
2 straight games, Kevin. No receptions.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 2 straight games.
Eventually, that gravy train's going to run out, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a little worrisome because the volume. He's not getting the volume through the air like he was. I don't even believe he got a target in this last game, and he was 0 for 3 in the week before that. So, like Sal said, 2 games without a catch, but he's bailed you out with a huge rushing touchdown. And yeah, it's the type of boom or bust player that he's been booming the last few weeks, and when he busts, it's probably going to hurt. But like I mentioned, he's a 16th round keeper, and his situation is one that you'd want to monitor throughout the offseason. What you do like about Kansas City is that they do seem intent on finding a way to get him the ball. Like we've said on the podcast many times, he got 6 rushes last week, which then the week before, I believe the one that he ran to the house was the only one that he had. So
Correct.
They did get him the ball a few more times to try and make something happen. And so I think that's encouraging. And because he does have he returns punts for them and he's on special teams, that does help out a little bit. But you're right, it has been a little touchdown dependent recently, all based on a few big plays. So hopefully you monitor the situation, but he's got that ability and he's been so hot lately. I don't see how you'd be sitting him this week if you've been using him this long.
Okay. That's all.
All right, then we will go to the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a dandy. Both of these teams are out. You're going to start David Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, and maybe Todd Gurley in this one. But who else would you be looking at, Kev?
If you're this far, maybe you have Kenny Britt on your roster. It's possible. I think you probably start him. The Arizona secondary looks terrible lately, so if you have Kenny Britt or Tavon Austin, I'm assuming you're probably not in your championship with those guys because they kind of fell off. And Austin was bad all season. But those are guys that probably have the ability to expose a secondary in Arizona that's been bad lately. I think Gurley's going to have a rough day. If he can't put yardage up against San Francisco, he's certainly not going to put yardage up against Arizona in my mind. So, although these teams always do play tough, everyone in that NFC West division always plays each other tough for some reason. So, I think that's about it in this one.
Does J.J. Nelson do anything for you?
Yeah, Kevin, we spoke about him on the review show the other day, the recap show, and I think you got to pay attention to a guy like that. It's a young guy who's been involved heavily in the offense lately, and he's another guy making big plays in the same mold as Tyreek Hill, and he's a guy I definitely would look at this week. But I definitely would have Larry Fitzgerald in there because there's a very good possibility, much like Steve Smith, this is his last game in the NFL. So it could be a very Larry-heavy game.
Could be. Just to solidify the point on J.J. Nelson, 18 targets over the last 2 games, and he scored in the last 4. So definitely a guy you want to get in the lineup, I think, particularly against this Rams team.
I would agree with that. We are going to move on now to the Oakland Raiders at the Denver Broncos. One of these teams has a lot to play for, and one of them does not.
You can want all you want, my friend. All right? But there's a very real possibility that the Raiders will win this game. Denver is going to be testing out quarterbacks. Pardon me if a team who's playing for a first-round bye isn't worried about a team that's going to test out quarterbacks and see what goes on. The Raiders are the 5th best rushing team in the NFL, and the Denver Broncos are the 4th worst rushing defense in the NFL. So I really think you're going to see a heavy dose of a 3-headed running back system this weekend, and I'm actually not very worried at all about the Raiders winning this game. I don't know how deep they'll go into playoffs, but I think that they're a threat to get that number 1 overall seed this week and at least get into the second round by getting that bye. So when you're Warren at home and Brady sitting on the bench and you're watching Garoppolo run around with a chicken on his head on, I'll be warring you through text.
I'd much rather watch Garoppolo than McGloin. I'll tell you that much right now. But I am just obviously giving you a little hell here. I do think the Raiders. I agree with you. I think it'll be a close game in my mind, but I do think they will run the ball quite a bit and probably effectively against the Denver defense who can't stop the run. So I agree with you there. They'll look to control the
Stop
clock.
agreeing with me, damn it! I want to be angry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. The Denver really has been terrible against the run, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to play a ball control game. You're going to limit what McGloin has to do. I do think that if for fantasy purposes, I would not be looking for Cooper or Crabtree in DFS. I wouldn't. You got to play them if they're your guys and you're in a championship on a season long team. But I'm not looking towards much from them this week. I think it's going to be tough sledding for them all around in the passing game. McGloin's doesn't really have the arm that Carr does, and so they're not going to go deep. You're going to see a lot of short passes, and I think Denver defends that really well as well.
And I'll just add on top of that from Denver's side of the ball, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders would be the only two guys worth starting. Stay away from the run game because it is non-existent, and assume that and hope that last week's terrible showing from the wide receivers and the quarterback is remedied a little bit this week against the Oakland Raiders, who I thought had a chance to win this game until Sal was all aboard. That confidence is just too much. It is unfortunately going to be a Denver Broncos win. As they split this series every single year, they will continue to do that.
Screw you, you bastard.
Hey, Steve, remember when Devontae Booker was a thing? Remember when he was going to be better than C.J. Anderson?
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. Oh, that was good times. Good times.
That didn't work out.
Yeah, it did not. That went away quick. All right, we are moving on because we are running out of time. The Giants at Washington. The Giants locked in as the number 5 seed, so who knows how long or if any of their starters are going to be playing. But then on Washington's side of the ball, this is a must-win game for them. For them to have any chances of sticking into the playoffs, they have to win this game. So, like I said, you're going to have the Giants. Not sure what their starters are going to be doing, but for Washington, you're going to feel comfortable rolling all those guys out, knowing that they're going to be playing for something, Sal, right?
Yeah, well, Ben McAdoo is saying that they're going to play, that they're going to play this game. It's a game, it has meaning, and they're going to play. But in New York, it's largely believed that will not be the whole game. And specifically on the defensive side, they have some guys nicked up. Some guys that they want to rest and get healthy for the playoffs. So for me, that's play your Redskins as per usual. Giants have been a very good defense all year, one that Kevin relied on, one that I talked up a lot. But I don't think that this week you're going to get that full Giants defense. So I'm starting Cousins. I guess I'm going with Mr. Ordinary, Jameson Crowder. Deshaun Jackson has been good lately. I'm getting him out there. And I'm rolling out Rob Kelly. So start him. Oh, Jordan Reed's healthy and going to play this game. That's tricky. That's a tricky one. But I think if my championship's on the line and I got Jordan Reed playing, I think I'm going to put him out there.
Yeah, why not? Last game of the season, right?
Why not? Why?
Why not? I got nothing else. Sal covered it beautifully.
Beautiful, Sal.
Aww.
All right, then we roll on. The Seattle Seahawks are going to San Francisco to play the 49ers. Seahawks currently the number 3 seed. They can clinch the number 2 seed with a win and an Atlanta loss, but they could also fall down to the number 4 seed with a loss. And so, this is a game that they are going to want to win. They've got a lot invested in coming out on top. So for Seattle, most of their guys are going to be playing that are healthy, but for the 49ers, no Carlos Hyde. He tore his MCL last week, so he's done for the season, which means there's no 49ers worth starting, right, Kev?
No, because you definitely are not starting Colin Kaepernick in this one. He will get manhandled all over the field. I think, you start your Seahawks, and that's about it. I personally would bench Thomas Rawls just because I hate him. He cost me a championship this past week, so I'm not, I would hate sit him if I was still playing. But most of you should roll him out there because San Francisco is terrible. It does sound like he's going to play. He was injured, but it does sound like he practiced a lot of this week, and he will play. So keep an eye on it, but definitely get him in there because this could be a huge day for Rawls to end the season. That's it. I mean, Russell Wilson. Steve?
Russell Wilson. I was just going to say I'm a big fan of the spite sitting.
Spite sitting's great.
Very happy that I was able to save myself in FLAFFL with having Russell Wilson blow up on my bench. for the last 2 weeks.
Close too. That just would have hurt.
It would have been so bad. It would have been just absolutely.
Because what? It was like a 4-point difference between him and Kirk Cousins. Is that what the final was? So if you had lost anywhere within that 4 points,
it would have hurt.
Yeah,
it would have hurt really bad. Yeah. So I would have. Yeah, I don't know.
Seahawks going to win this game by. Seahawks will win this game by over 40.
Wow.
40?
Start all you see over 40. They'll win by more than 40.
Why would they? Why? So that's a problem. Well, I guess it's not a problem because you'll get that many points out of them before they get benched. But
they're going to score 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Then everyone will sit. If they're up by that much,
right. Their backups can score in this crap.
Yeah, but you're not going to have them in your lineup if you're in a Week 17 championship.
That's all right. You'll get the points in the first half. 5 touchdowns.
And
one to Graham,
and
two
like
to
we've
Baldwin,
said, if you're in
one
a week
to Roll, and one to Lockett just to piss you off a week after you lost the championship.
Besides, if you're in a Week 17 championship, you're not going to be in the league next year anyway, so it won't matter.
That's right. Okay. We're moving on from that crappy game and talking about this one that should be fun. The New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons currently the number 2 seed. They want to win this week to clinch that bye week. They can still clinch with a loss, but they'd have to rely on the Seahawks losing to the 49ers, which, as Sal said, is not going to happen. So I think you're pretty much going to start anyone from this kind of game. Kev, do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I think you get them all out there, and I expect Julio Jones to have a huge day.
Huge
day.
Huge.
Yes. Yes. These defenses are both bad. They both give up a lot of points to wide receivers throughout the season. Although Atlanta has been better. New Orleans actually has been better this over the last few weeks as well. But I expect it to be a high scoring game. Although every time I say that, Drew Brees screws me. So maybe not.
77 points between these two teams in September when they played each other.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Kevin. Falcons are obviously, as we said, fighting to hold on to the number 2 seed. And the Saints, led by Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the guy that plays every game. It's in his DNA. He's not a guy who gives up on a season, even though the best they could do is finish 8-8. I expect him to go out and just be throwing. So I'm comfortable with the New Orleans wide receivers. I don't know about the running backs, but I'm playing Brees and I'm playing the wide receivers for sure.
So, Sal, what do you think the split will be between Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman?
So, interestingly enough, right, so Kevin and I have a bet for next season, and I said that Tevin Coleman, as long as he plays the same amount of games as Devonta Freeman next season, will outscore Devonta Freeman next season.
They also both have to be on the Falcons. Just in case anything shakes out during the offseason.
But this is still 2016, and I do think that Freeman is considered the lead guy, even though I think that
that's weird.
Coleman does more with the ball when he gets it. But I think it'll probably be, I'll say 60-40 Freeman.
Okay. I agree with you.
Fair enough.
I think that Freeman's going to be the guy in this one, and I actually do think that he's probably not a bad play here. I actually don't mind Mark Ingram either for the purposes of running backs. Besides, if you're in a championship, you're probably starting him out there, but he might be a little too expensive in daily, given that the Falcons have been better against the run. But anyway, that's all.
Anyway. All right, we're going to move on to the final game of the regular football season. This is Sunday night, and this is going to be a fun one. If you guys ever want to see or have a good time in the Falafel House chat, when the Packers have a lot on the line and a lot to lose, our friend Beatapoo is just great entertainment in there. He's so fun to be around. And the Packers have a lot on the line in this game. The winner of this game is going to be the NFC North winner. And the loser of this game, if Washington wins their game, is going to be out of the playoffs. So a lot at stake. These are two teams that have some shaky defenses. You just saw on Monday night, the Lions gave up 42 points to the Cowboys. So there's a ton going on here and a ton of fantasy goodness going on here. So, Sal, what are you looking at in this game?
First of all, somewhere Brandon's got a little tear rolling down his cheek. that you said those nice things about him. No one has ever said he's fun to be around. So
it's fun to be around him because he's miserable and you can just mess with him too. By the way, it's not even a good thing.
Well, remember last year when it happened, everybody jumped in that Packers chat and was tormenting the Packer fans when they lost that game to Arizona. But yeah, I'm playing the guys who got me here right in this matchup. I'm not afraid to play Golden Tate. I'm not afraid to play Jordy Nelson. Aaron Rodgers has been playing like an MVP again. I'd roll out Ty Montgomery in this game. The one guy I'd be shaky on is Matt Stafford, is a guy I've supported all year. But since the hand injury, I believe I heard today he has not thrown a touchdown in that time. So with my championship on the line, I shy away from him unless I don't have better options. But any other guys that I have, I'm rolling them out there.
Yeah, no touchdown since week 14 for Matt Stafford. So I understand why you would be hesitant there, but Green Bay has just been so bad against the pass lately. Sixth worst against quarterbacks and fifth, I think, worst against wide receivers. So for fantasy purposes, you can score on these Packers, on the Packers defense. So I'm getting Stafford in there. I'm getting Golden Tate in there. I think Marvin Jones might actually have a decent game.
Don't do it.
Nah, listen. I think if you got him, you might. I mean, he's flex, right? He's not. It's not like you're starting him as a wide receiver 1 or anything like that anymore. But I think he could be and a cheaper option in DFS. So a guy that I would consider because I think that this one could end up being a shootout.
Oh, I hope you use them in your DFS mug challenge.
I'm gonna beat you in that challenge. There's no way I will lose to you now. It's my goal in life.
You will lose.
Well, that's it for me.
Do you want to quickly go over the lineup, Sal? Did you set your lineup already?
I did, but I don't think that I do want to go over it because other people that we're going to be going against are going to be listening to this. So,
come on.
I want that cup. I'm not telling you my lineup. I want that mug.
Oh, Steve, are you in that too? Oh,
you know
Steve,
it.
That's nice.
Steve's in.
Nice. All right. Well, should we have a little side wager on which one of us finishes first ahead of the other two? A little side wager.
I don't care. Sure.
My gambling degenerative bone is tingling.
All right. Let's.
It's not your gambling bone.
Keep it clean.
Ooh.
Stay classy, Sal. All right. We will work on the details of that bet, and we will figure out what we are going to wager. And we will get back to you guys on that. But for now, let's get to the final thoughts. Steve.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and listening to the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast and sticking around all season with us. You can follow us on Twitter at Falafel House. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Falafel House there. And, of course, falafelhouse.com, which is where we put out all of our daily fantasy content, which probably won't be daily anymore as the season is wound down. But still check it out and stick with it. And we're going to have stuff coming out all throughout the offseason, like Kev said at the beginning of the show. So thank you, Sal.
Yeah, I'll just remind you one more time about the Falafel House Playoff Fantasy Challenge. You can find that also on falafelhouse.com. You can find it as the pinned tweet on my Twitter account at LitoSal. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier, some people have reached out to me and said, I haven't got an email. Check your spam, because if you don't have a myfantasyleagues.com account, it probably goes into your spam folder. More than a few people, including my own son, that's where he found it. So check your spam, log in, register, sign up, read the rules, understand the rules, because last year when I did this manually, I made exceptions for people who picked 2 players on the same team, and we adjusted it before the first weekend was over. I will not be doing it this year. It'll be well over 200 people in this contest, and I ain't got your time.
All right. I can't even. Nice. All right. So, look, I just want to thank everyone for listening as well, and want to give you an update on our schedule going forward, because we talked about it a little bit. As the season winds down, we will be continuing with 2 shows per week. We'll be releasing on Tuesdays and Fridays going forward, so make sure you get into your app for downloading podcasts and on Tuesdays and Fridays, and download the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. And if you go to that same app when you download, if you could leave us a review, we would certainly appreciate that. The last review that we have on iTunes still says that Sal Lito is one of the best men to ever live. Woo-hoo! I would really like to get that way higher in the list.
Truer words have never been spoken.
So if someone could go in and make that not the most recent review, I would really appreciate that. So that's it. We will be back with you, as I mentioned, on Tuesday. And until then, Steve, hit the button.